The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
We love it.
All right, good day, tokers and tokettes. Welcome. It is Tuesday, April 9th, 2013, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. So glad you could join us here today. We got all sorts of great information for you on today's show. In today's Radical Rant, we're going to take an in-depth look at a story that I brought to you last week. It's the story of the Hacken family. There's been some updates there. If you heard of the anti-government family that kidnapped their own kids, that's the story I'm talking about. We'll give you the latest updates. Plus, I want to rant a little bit about how the government uses our children against us in this war on drugs. We'll talk about that in the Radical Rant. At half past, we are going to do a little bit of reefer research. I debuted this segment a couple of weeks ago on every other Tuesday. We're going to take a look deep into my files and show you some of the different research topics, subjects, and sources that I get my information from. This will make you all better fighters in the war against prohibition, to be able to bring all of this research to fore when you're in your arguments, when you're in your discussions, and a lot of it's from the government's own sources. So good stuff. Today we're going to be focusing on medical marijuana laws. If you want to find out information on medical marijuana law, elections, and so forth, today's reefer research will bring you all that information. Before we get to the reefer research, we've got our daily Toker tunes and a brand new music editor for our Electric Tuesdays. Our good friend Bacon Dan, aka Bacon Crispy PDX, brought us a song for Electric Tuesday today called Paradise on E. We'll have to check that one out at 20 after. I hope you enjoy it. Also in today's show, we're going to go behind the headlines and take a look at the drug testing bills that are still percolating through various state legislatures. Drug testing for welfare, drug testing for unemployment. And I got a little twist in that to show you as well about one particular lawmaker in Georgia and what's happened to him since he supported drug testing people for welfare. But before we get to all of that, we start off our show with the 420 radio news, and we got all sorts of great headlines today. Kentucky's hemp bill is now law. We've got lawmakers hearing 3 different bills on medical marijuana here in the state of Oregon. Colorado's lawmakers may make a major change to how they handle the distribution and growing of marijuana in that state. Researchers in the San Francisco Bay Area are researching CBD for brain and breast cancer. We'll tell you what happens if you pass out hemp leaf stickers in Russia, and there's a conference going on this weekend in Missouri. Like I said, plenty of information to get to. We'll get to it right after this.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What's happening, funky brothers and soul sisters? This is Big Daddy, and I want you to win a t-shirt courtesy of the Funky Roller Rink at 420radio.org. Just tune into the Funky Roller Rink this week and keep track of all the hip-hop tunes and sample my Funk 3, baby.
Music make you move, 'cause you can dig the groove and groove on.
Then, the following week, at the start of the show, just tweet at Funky Roller Rink the results of the hip-hop set list in the order they were played. The first 3 skaters with the correct set list will win some free threads, baby. But you gotta watch the show to win. It's the Sample My Funk t-shirt contest this week on the Funky Roller Rink. Check out the Funky Roller Rink blog on 420radio.org for more info. And as always, keep it funky, keep it funky, keep it funky.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215. or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
This is your 420 radio news for Tuesday, April 9th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. Kentucky hemp bill becomes law. This from HuffingtonPost.com. Kentucky's hemp bill became law over the weekend when Governor Steve Beshear opted not to act on it, bringing a successful end to the measure's winding path through the state legislature. Beshear said of his decision on SB 50, quote, "I strongly support efforts to create additional legal cash crops for our farm communities. At the same time, we have a tremendous drug problem in Kentucky, and I want to make sure that we don't do anything that will increase that drug problem. I still share the same concerns our law enforcement officers have about the impact hemp cultivation may have on our drug eradication efforts," end quote. Kentucky police have expressed concerns that legalizing hemp production could give cover to potential growers of illegal marijuana, which looks similar to hemp, but whose strains contain higher levels of the psychoactive agent tetrahydrocannabinol. Experts have rejected this suggestion, claiming that the two strains would cross-pollinate if cultivated in close proximity, devaluing the more potent and profitable variety. With industrial hemp now legal at the state level, Kentucky must now wait for federal action to approve the crop's planting and harvesting. Kentucky's U.S. Senators Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell have promised to work toward a federal solution to allow the state to cultivate hemp. Both senators are sponsoring federal legislation to remove hemp from the Drug Enforcement Administration's list of illicit drugs. Lawmakers hear medical marijuana bills from the statesmanjournal.com. Medical marijuana isn't always easy for patients to get their hands on, so advocates are asking Oregon legislators to make acquiring it safer and simpler. House Bill 3460 would set up medical marijuana facility registration system, authorizing the transfer of the drug to patients. Medical marijuana dispensaries have been raided by law enforcement in the past. The facilities also would have to comply with regulations for pesticides, mold and mildew testing, which supporters say will help ensure the drug isn't contaminated. In recent years, between 150 and 200 facilities have started providing medical marijuana for patients, according to the advocacy group Oregonians for Medical Rights. House Bill 3460 is among 3 marijuana bills in the Health Care Committee on Monday. House Bill 2919 would create a semi-independent agency called the Cannabis Commission to help come up with a strategic plan for the development of a medical marijuana industry. House Bill 3055 would limit the number of marijuana growers to 3 people per location and require that a grow site is located more than 1,000 feet from public or private elementary or secondary schools. And in addition, the legislature is considering bills that would legalize and tax marijuana and allow those with post-traumatic stress disorder to use medical marijuana. Colorado lawmakers may let pot growers and sellers operate independently from the Denver Post. The Colorado lawmakers stood the state's current model for marijuana businesses on its head Monday, endorsing a proposal that would allow recreational pot stores and commercial growers to operate independently. Currently, medical marijuana businesses in Colorado are vertically integrated, meaning growers and sellers are part of the same company, and the stores grow most of what they sell. But on Monday, at the final meeting of a legislative committee writing a bill for recreational marijuana rules, lawmakers backed a proposed model where growers and sellers would be separate. They also shrunk what had been a 1-year window where only medical marijuana businesses could apply for recreational pot shop licenses down to 3 months. The result is potentially, since the full legislature must still endorse the proposals, a radical change to the economics of the cannabis industry in Colorado. Bay Area researchers hope to test cancer-fighting marijuana compound in humans, from abcnews.com. More than 5 years ago, researchers at California Pacific Medical Center in San Francisco began focusing their attention on a compound in the marijuana plant called cannabidiol. Sean McAllister, Ph.D., and colleague Pierre Dupre, Ph.D., now believe they are ready for human trials, using the compound to treat metastatic cancer. They have developed 2 trial models, one for brain cancer and one for breast cancer. Hemp leaf stickers on cars popularized drugs, according to a Russian court. The Novosibirsk Central District Court has passed a guilty verdict on 7 business people for selling hemp leaf stickers for cars. The watchdog says the concerns of the hemp leaf stickers for the cars are that they promote the use of illegal or psychotropic substances. 6 people were sentenced to a temporary suspension of operation for 10 to 15 days, and 1 person was fined 40,000 rubles, or approximately $1,200. And this Saturday, Missouri Cannabis Law Reform Conference will be held. Contact Show Me Cannabis for more information. That's your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, April 9th, 2013. I'm Russ Belville. When we come back, we go behind the headlines and take a look at the drug testing for welfare and unemployment bills still running through state legislators in America, plus a look at a legislator in Georgia who got into a little bit of trouble. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back after this. Is medical marijuana right for you? When you are stricken by an illness, injury, or disability, you deserve to live your life as free from pain and suffering as possible. Modern medical researchers have developed some amazing pharmaceutical drugs, but these may not be the best solution for you. At Alternative Medical Choices, we help collect your medical records history and provide a physician's review and examination to help you qualify for the use of medical marijuana in Oregon and Washington State. Call 971-270-0262 or visit altmedchoices.com for more information and to schedule an appointment today. Alternative Medical Choices, because you deserve the best in healthcare.
Respect the law, but know your rights. And share if you can.
Ask me any question, I'm gonna plead the fifth. Unless you asking me if I wanna smoke and spliff, then I'll be coming over. I'm gonna take a lift. You know I leave you feeling like you got a touch of the gift.
Yeah, this is Brian the Red, and you're listening to 420radio.org. So get a little irie.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Time for us to go behind the headlines. It's 14 past the hour, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the more of these drug testing for welfare bills. There's another one that's going through the state Senate in Arkansas. This is from Reuters.com. The Republican-led Arkansas State Senate approved a measure on Monday that would require random drug testing of Arkansas residents who receive state unemployment benefits, a plan that the state's Democratic governor said could violate federal law. The bill, which passed on a 25-5 vote, now goes to a House committee, could affect about 85,000 Arkansas residents currently receiving unemployment benefits. If the measure becomes law, those seeking unemployment benefits would have to sign a waiver and allow for random drug testing. Those who refuse to sign or who test positive for drugs would not be entitled to benefits. The Arkansas bill's sponsor, Republican State Senator Jeremy Hutchinson, said that his measure was more of an enforcement mechanism than anything else. Quote, Arkansas law states that you have to be adequately seeking employment, and by that, you have to pass a drug test since so many employers require drug tests, end quote, Hutchinson said. He also said that 80% of the state's employers require a drug test. The unemployment testing, Hutchinson said, would cost the state less than $30,000 a year to administer. The reason our audience is laughing is because they follow this show quite well, and they realize that a couple, 3, 4, 5 days ago, maybe a week ago, I did a feature on this report from The Nation magazine on the GOP's drug testing dragnet. So they're claiming in Arkansas that drug testing 85,000 people on unemployment is only going to cost the state $30,000. Yet, when Governor Rick Perry in Texas was proposing to drug test people in Texas for unemployment, the Nation reports that forcing jobless Texans to pee in cups would cost the state $30 million a year. $30 million. Million with an M. $30 million. Now, I know Arkansas is not as big as Texas by any means, but it can't be 1,000 times less expensive in Arkansas than it is in Texas. They're saying $30,000 in Arkansas for the entire state to administer an unemployment drug testing problem when the estimate was $30 million in Texas. Something's not adding up here. And it also bothers me when we want to tie in unemployment benefits to drug testing here, because people tend to think that unemployment is some sort of entitlement, but it's not. It's an insurance program that you've already paid into by working. That's your money. It's deferred salary. It's money that would have been in your paycheck, except for the fact that we have laws about unemployment insurance so that when you do run out of a job, we don't have to step over you in the streets. You don't go robbing people to try to survive, that there's some sort of safety net to catch you. Now, if we're going to drug test people who are on unemployment, what then will they do? These people that propose this drug testing, first of all, if we're talking about people addicted to serious drugs, cocaine, meth, and heroin, you don't make rational choices when you're addicted to those drugs. You'll use those drugs, you'll get caught, and then now you'll be drug addicted and unemployed and have no benefits, no money coming in. What's your next move? Really, what's your next move? Go get a job? What's your next move is probably rob someone or steal something when you're in that desperate a situation. But let's be honest, the real effect of these drug testing plans is to catch pot smokers, because that's what these drug tests mostly catch is pot smokers. It's just another way of discriminating against us. And before I end this segment, I also wanted to mention a story coming out of rawstory.com, has slightly to do with this drug testing for welfare. Georgia State House Representative Chuck Sims, a Republican, was arrested last week and charged with driving under the influence. His second such arrest in just the last 3 years. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported Monday that Sims was arrested and taken into custody shortly before midnight on April 2nd. An officer in Coffee County reportedly observed a motorist driving erratically who then accelerated, plowing the vehicle into the highway shoulder. Sims was arrested and booked into the Coffee County Jail in Douglas, Georgia, then released on a $1,487 bond. Sims was arrested for DUI in 2010 by Atlanta police. So why is this a big deal? This Republican Georgia House representative who got 2 DUIs in 3 years? Well, because he's among the state lawmakers who voted in favor of House Bill 861, which mandated drug testing for all Georgians seeking public assistance funding. So, yeah, we got to test all these people that are on welfare getting money from the state of Georgia. But this guy, this representative, who I do believe is paid a salary by the state of Georgia, right, for being a representative, has been busted twice for driving under the influence. You better take a look at that log in your own eye there, Representative, before you start commenting on the specks in other people's eyes. Hypocrite. All right. Well, Brian the Red's here. We got the Google Hangout going. I think that's working now. So if you want a video chat, the link should be in our regular chat room. In the meantime, what do we got to do here?
Well, you got to remember to copy and paste that link.
Copy and paste the link. All right. Be right back.
Reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? Reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Hey everybody, welcome. It's Danny Danko from High Times Magazine, and I'm here with Mr. Kyle Cushman, and we're talking about integrated pest management. Now Kyle, I see you're using these yellow sticky traps. What's the purpose of those?
It is just a good part of routine IPM, integrated pest management, along with neem oil, regular spraying of neem oil every second or third day. And it's just good to keep down, to prevent an infestation before it happens. Okay. So it's kind of like that canary in the coal mine thing, where it'll let you know ahead of time by seeing how many bugs there if you need to employ something stronger, if you're going to need to use biological controls or some chemical insecticides.
Wow, cool. And also I'd like people to know the reason these sticky traps are yellow is that the bugs are attracted to that color. It's the color of a dying leaf, which makes a welcome home for them. So always remove any yellowing leaves so as not to create a home for pests.
Yes, yellow or mottled leaves, go away.
All right, well thank you very much, Kyle, and this has been a lesson in integrated pest management.
Funky, licious.
Oh yeah, that's right. Grooving, keeping it mellow here at the Funky Roller Ring. So join me, Big Daddy, every Thursday night. The doors open at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Groove on. Groove on.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. You can get downloads and more information about all our Daily Toker Tunes by visiting music.radicalruss.com. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, welcome back. Like I teased earlier in the show, we've got a brand new music editor for Electric Tuesday, and that would be our friend Bacon Crispy PDX, a.k.a. Bacon Dan. Hey, Dan.
Hey, how's everybody going today?
Doing great. You just made it in, just in time. Glad to have you here.
Oh, definitely.
Before we get to the song, I want to remind folks, we got a new ad on the show. If you didn't catch it at the beginning of the show, it'll be on at the top of every hour. Big Daddy Fink and the Funky Roller Rink are doing a T-shirt giveaway. They're doing 3 T-shirts that they're going to give away, and all you got to do is watch the Funky Roller Rink this Thursday and make a note of the hip-hop tunes. And then the next week, you can tweet those tunes in order, and you could be a winner. For more information, just check out our show. Just check out our stream here at the top of every hour and catch that ad. It'll give you more details. All right, let's go to Bacon Dan. We got a song for today, Paradise on E. What do we know about this artist?
All right, well, this is... I actually found out about this artist through the fact that I am a giant nerd. and I'm a gamer as well. So a lot of machinima, which you'll take video games and kind of make your own movies with, you'll see this kind of music at the end. So this is from Bounce. This is the final edit of Paradise on E. It's just real good old school electro. You can find a lot of his stuff on Newgrounds. Just go on to newgrounds.com, search Bounce. But the O is with the letter 0, and the E at the end is with the letter 3.
B0 Unk 3.
Yes.
Okay. You kids with your crazy typing and stuff. So Paradise on E, and what was the website again?
That's newgrounds.com, and this is Paradise on E, the final edit.
All right, here we go. Let's enjoy it. This is Bounce.
I've been playing rock and roll for a lot of years, and I've done it all. Now I do it without drugs. Hey, don't get me wrong, I still party with the best of them, but now I do it clean. I'm on top of everything I do.
Georgia,
Hi, this is Willie Nelson, and I need your help. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 20s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stop arresting law-abiding citizens because they prefer marijuana over alcohol. Nearly 2,000 Americans are arrested every day on marijuana charges. We're unfairly destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of thousands of people each year simply because they smoke marijuana. These are not criminals. They're average citizens like you, good neighbors who work hard, raise families, pay taxes, and contribute to their communities. We need your help to end marijuana prohibition once and for all. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
Welcome back, everybody. Half past the hour, and today, as we do on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month, we got a new segment called Reefer Research with Radical Russ, and we're going to show you some of the tips and tricks that I've acquired over the past 5 years of researching the war on certain American citizens using non-pharmaceutical, non-alcoholic, tobacco-free drugs. So, if you check the webcam, I've got 3 different websites we're going to take a look at today. I've created short URLs for all of them, if that will help you out. And they're all through my Rad Russ shortening service. It's a rad-r.us. And then there's 3 websites. There's MJ Ballot with capital M, capital J, capital B. The capitalization does matter, so you have to make sure you get that right. MJ Ballot, and that represents the site for Ballotpedia, and specifically the page on Ballotpedia that lists all of the marijuana-related initiatives that have ever been on U.S. state ballots. So it's a great site. We're going to go to that in just a second. For a more detailed look at state ballot initiatives, there's also a database that's run by the National Commission of State Legislatures, and I've created a link for that at BallotDB, capital B, capital D, capital B. So BallotDB at the Rad Rush service. And for a look at polls and scientific information and state laws, there's a great website out there called procon.org. You can actually find them at medicalmarijuana.procon.org, or you can use my short link, MJProcon, with capital M, J, P, and C, MJProcon. So let's start by taking a look at the Ballotpedia link to begin with, and I'll pull this up over here. Again, rad-r.us/MJBallot will take you there. If you want to follow along, this might be helpful as well. And let me switch over to the host cam and get you a screenshot of the site. Okay, so when you get there, you'll be at ballotpedia.org. And like I said, it's the you can find this specifically by going to the MJ Ballot link that I've provided you. But it provides you a list of marijuana on the ballot all throughout the country, throughout any particular election year. And we'll just look through this just a little bit. You can arrange it by state or by which year. So running down through the states, you can see Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, and so forth. Or we can go by year, which I think is kind of interesting, because then you can go year by year and see, what's on the ballot. Going all the way back to 1972, when California's first Prop 19 was on the ballot. That was in 1972. Oregon's Ballot Measure 5, which was the Oregon Marijuana Initiative, that was from 1986, and so forth. So you can find all of the interesting, all of the laws that were passed, the various decrim measures. And this includes ones that were on the ballot and didn't pass as well. So, for example, you can see in 1998, there were 7 different things on the ballot that people had to do with marijuana in one way or the other. This also tells an interesting story, because you might notice here that we have Arizona use or possession of controlled substances, Proposition 200, 1996. That's the Arizona medical marijuana. And believe it or not, all the way back in 1996, Arizona passed medical marijuana with 65% of the vote. Now, this may lead somebody to think, well, wait a minute, didn't Arizona just become a medical state like just back in 2010? Well, yes, technically, but actually all the way back in 1996, almost 2 out of 3 people in Arizona were approving marijuana for medical purposes. And this measure passed, but the problem that existed for it, which exists for a lot of these measures, is right here. Proposition 200 would allow medical doctors to prescribe a controlled substance. And the minute you put the word prescribe in there, you're messing with at the federal level. You're dealing with DEA federal prescriptions, prescription licenses. And once someone in Arizona, a doctor, would prescribe marijuana, they would lose their ability to prescribe everything. And that's why this 1996 act never took effect. They tried again 2 years later in Arizona in 1998 when we were passing medical marijuana here in Oregon and they were doing it in Alaska. There was also the Arizona medical use of Schedule I drugs proposition. This was just another rewriting of what they had done before. And this was the referendum that was asking whether or not the FDA would have to give permission before anyone could use medical marijuana. And the people voted that down. Again, about a 2 to 3 measure voted down having to have federal approval for Arizona doctors to prescribe medical marijuana. That still didn't solve the problem because the word prescribe was still in there. But I think it pretty clearly showed that the people in Arizona all the way back in the late 90s were ready to approve medical marijuana. They didn't finally approve it until 2010. So this is a great website if you want to find out the different years and try to, find out when medical marijuana has passed, where it hasn't passed, what year it happened, and so forth. Again, medical marijuana on ballotpedia.org, which you can find through our helpful link. Now, another link that you can use, again, under the rad-r.us, is at BallotDB. This is the National Conference on State Legislatures, rad-r.us/BallotDB, and this will take you to their database search. Now, I'm going to expand this just a little bit so you can read it a little better, but this is the National Conference on State Legislatures, and what's nice about this is a ballot measures database for every ballot measure ever, for anything that was ever voted on. You can search it through all of the states or by picking your one particular state you wish to search through. You can select a number of topics you wish to search through. If you hold your control key down on a PC, you can pick multiple topics. But of course, we would be interested in this topic here, drug, alcohol, and tobacco. Now, I think this is an interesting way of searching because I find it interesting to find not just the marijuana on the ballot, but also what they're doing with alcohol and tobacco policy, and to use those to compare and contrast. You can search through the different years, and normally you can see the whole year there. Since I've blown it up a little bit, it's too big for the box, but that's 2013, I believe, is selected right now. And whether or not it's part of a general election, a primary election, a special election, whether or not the measure is an initiative or a legislative referral, and so forth. Let's pick on my home state here, the state of Oregon. And we'll look for drug and alcohol and tobacco. This year, general election, any measure. You could also add a text search, if you're looking for a specific word. So if I was looking for just marijuana, I could put that in there. But I'm kind of interested in seeing what's going on with alcohol and tobacco as well. And then submitting that allows you to see what was on the ballot in 2012. And this, of course, would be Measure 80, allowing for personal marijuana use, and that failed. We did get 46.5% of the vote. But there were other bills. Well, no, I guess there wasn't. That was the only initiative on the ballot that year. Let's change that to any measure type, not just initiatives, and see what we did in Oregon as far as passing laws. And I guess that was it. That was the only thing in the 2012 election. Let's expand this to all states. Get a little more information. Here we go. Colorado's Amendment 64 passing with 54.8% of the vote. We have Massachusetts medical use of marijuana passing with 63.3% of the vote. We have Proposition B in Missouri was going to, as a cigarette and other tobacco product taxation, was going to increase taxes on roll your own tobacco, because that's been a kind of a loophole people have getting around higher tobacco taxes, because loose tobacco isn't often taxed the same way cigarettes are. A medical marijuana referendum in Montana, that was the one to keep the bad law they have, which passed with 57% of the vote. North Dakota passed a law against smoking in public places with a 2/3 vote. 2 out of 3 people have voted for that. Oregon's Measure 80. Washington's I-502 passed with 55.5% of the vote. And of course, there's a lot of detail in this as far as what the law would include, what the state has to do, what the rules are. Again, this is National Conference on State Legislatures. You can find them at ncsl.org. Or you can just go ahead and use the short link that I've given you, BallotDB. And finally, probably the treasure trove of sources for medical marijuana information is at medicalmarijuana.procon.com. You can find this again through rad-r.us/MJProCon. I've made a short link for it, MJProCon. And this site is amazing. First of all, it begins with a summary chart of the 18 states and District of Columbia that have enacted laws to legalize medical marijuana. It shows the year each one passed, how it passed, whether it was a ballot measure or just through the legislature, the fee that exists to get medical marijuana card in that state, what the basic possession limits are for every state, and whether that state will accept the registry cards from other states. This is an amazing chart with all the data you could want. California, Colorado, all the states are listed. And of course, we have Oregon, New Jersey, and Nevada with $200 fees for medical marijuana. So amazing stuff there. Also points out different notes like the residency requirements. 16 of the 18 medical marijuana states will only allow you must be a resident of that state. Only Oregon allows you to have medical marijuana if you're an out-of-state patient. And we don't know yet if Delaware will allow you to have medical marijuana. As far as home cultivation goes, some or all patients and or their caregivers can cultivate in 15 of the 18 states. Home cultivation is not allowed in Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, or D.C. And you have to have a special license in New Mexico. And in Arizona, you can only grow if you live 25 miles away from a dispensary. And in Massachusetts, you can only grow until the department figures out how they're going to set up dispensaries. And then you can get a hardship waiver. So really, there's some restrictions on home grow in a lot of these states. It would be Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, District of Columbia, New Mexico, Arizona, and Massachusetts for 7 states and the D.C. Patient registration is required in most states. And then as you scroll down, you will get a list of all the states and what the address and phone numbers are for their medical marijuana registry, links to the emails, to the websites for their medical marijuana registry. It's just an amazing site. And then on the sidebar, all sorts of great stuff like charts of teen marijuana use, deaths from marijuana versus 17 FDA-approved drugs, various opinion polls, pharmaceutical drugs based on cannabis. Please check out these resources, and if you've missed any of the links, you can always email me, russ@radicalruss.com. I'll put them back on the screen for you. We're going to take a break. When we come back, time for a Radical Rant.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com. NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks may be far less than those posed by legal drugs.
When I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it. And didn't inhale and never tried it again.
I think you'd probably be a lot cooler if you had, Mr. President.
Said, hey, do you have a joint, kids? Sure would be a lot cooler if you did. Lie, don't hide it. Lie, don't hide it. Oh, lie, don't hide it. Lie, don't hide it. Just lie, don't.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Last week I started breaking the story about Joshua Hacken and his wife, and this is a story coming out of Florida, also has a tie to Louisiana. And I just wanted to give you the latest updates on this because I think it paints a pretty scary picture about the lengths to which the government will go to demonize those of us who are using cannabis. And of course, I got to give major hat tip here to Mike Riggs of Reason, who is the primary journalist who has been covering this. He began on April 3rd, last Wednesday, and the headline that caught my eye said, "Anti-government couple on the run after kidnapping their own children from court-appointed guardian." Anti-government couple, they call them. It's Joshua Hacken and his wife Sharon Hacken. They're in Florida. They kidnapped, now this is according to the ABC Action News in Louisiana, that said, investigators say Joshua Michael Hacken, age 35, entered the home of Patricia Hauser around 6:30 a.m. Hauser is the maternal grandmother of Chase Hacken and Cole Hacken, ages 2 and 4. And it's believed that Hacken's wife, 34-year-old Sharon, was waiting outside. Investigators did not know if the children were taken at gunpoint, and it was not clear if the mother was directly involved in the abduction. Reporters were told at a Wednesday afternoon news conference the state of Louisiana took away the parents' parental rights and gave Hauser temporary custody. Joshua Hacken tied up Hauser, took the children, and fled in Hauser's 2009 silver Toyota Camry, which was later found a few blocks away. Now, according to investigators, this is the Louisiana news here, the couple lost custody of the two boys after an anti-government rally in Louisiana. The father was charged with possession of marijuana in the presence of the children. Afterward, Joshua Hacken tried to take the children, reportedly at gunpoint, from a Louisiana foster care facility, but was thwarted, according to the sheriff's office. And this is what's disturbing about this, is they keep saying, well, they're anti-government, and they were at an anti-government rally, and had possession of marijuana in the presence of his kids. And so I saw this story, and I went, okay, anti-government rally, what the hell is that? Tea Party rally? Occupy rally? Both could be considered anti-government in a certain way. A Tea Party on the right and Occupy on the left could be construed to be anti-government. And I thought, what, this guy is smoking pot at a Tea Party rally or an Occupy rally or what the hell? And he's smoking pot in front of his kids? Is this what's going on? What the hell is up with this story? Well, there's been some updates since then. First of all, his arrest was back in June of last year. This was Joshua Hacken's arrest, was for possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of a controlled dangerous substance in the presence of a minor. And that's what lost him his kids. State of Louisiana took away his parental custody for possession of a controlled dangerous substance in the presence of a minor. So I want you to think about how just merely having weed in a pipe in your pocket could lead the state to deem you an unfit parent and take your children from you. This happens all the time. And I'd encourage you tonight, tune into A Different View with Jen and Iva. This is a subject they cover a lot. I think they're covering it on tonight's show. The use of child protective services to be used as a wedge, as a tool to bust people, to force them to become criminal informants, to force them to plead guilty, take plea agreements they wouldn't otherwise take. Because when it comes to child custody and child protection, the government has a whole lot of leeway compared to a criminal prosecution for weed. And what happens sometimes is they go for the criminal prosecution for weed. They can't really get around and make it stick, but they'll use the threat of taking the kids away to get the people to plead on these cases. So that's what caught my eye in this case in the first place. And then the Florida media from that point on, at the, for example, the Orlando Sentinel as soon as this case hit, they posted pictures of the two boys and the mother and father with a big headline, Amber Alert, anti-government mom and dad suspected of abducting two boys. Their own boys, their own kids. So that's where this began, right? And so the next follow-up we got from Reason.com came on April 4th, last Thursday. And it was entitled, The Hacken Child Abduction Story Apparently Started with a Simple Marijuana Arrest. Detective Daniel Sozano, who it turns out is the public information officer for the Slidell Police Department and not the officer who arrested Joshua Hacken, emails Mike Riggs at Reason to say, quote, Mr. Hacken, as far as we know, was not at an anti-government rally. I never made that statement and don't know where that came from. Well, somebody made the statement. They made it fairly plainly because all of the media outlets that covered this on day one kept calling them anti-government, the anti-government couple. Now, indeed, they reiterate he broke in, tied up the grandma with zip ties and took with the kids. Florida law enforcement authorities say the anti-government couple are now on the run with Cole and Chase in tow. Law enforcement agencies in Georgia, Alabama, and Louisiana have all issued child abduction alerts. Now, looking through some of this, I'm trying to find, let me find this detail. They're just recounting the, okay. Mike Riggs writes, while I haven't been able to figure out anything about the anti-government rally Hacken was allegedly attending in Slidell or what happened between June and Wednesday of this week, his and his wife's political beliefs are hardly the danger the law enforcement officials are making them out to be. From the Tampa Bay Times, in February 2012, somebody writing as Sailing Bull posted to the website for Adam versus the Man, a forum about challenging authority, sticking it to the man, and giving the millennial generation a voice. He wrote, quote, my name is Joshua Hacken. I am a father, a registered professional mechanical engineer, and a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. I am absolutely devoted to life, liberty, the rights of the individual, and the Constitution of the United States of America. End quote. Oh, my goodness. Anti-government rhetoric. After saying that he had noticed that, quote, things here in Florida have not added up for quite some time, he concluded, in these crazy times, maintaining open communication lines for ideas, observation, and news is absolutely critical if the good guys are to be successful in surviving to maintain the fight of ideas. And also in the Tampa Bay Times story, they go on to talk about the neighbors talking about, hey, these Hackens are normal folks. Got no problem with our neighbors. They seem to be okay. Although they do have a habit of smoking pot in their driveway. Then maybe they shouldn't do that. But anti-government? Hardly. And this is where we were left up through to the weekend on this story is, basically hearing that it sounds like the government took this guy's kids because they busted him with pot. Then he went to try to get his kids back at the foster home, brought a gun with him. Not a great idea, but, he's been without his kids for a week. And gets turned away at the foster home. And now we get the report. And so the foster home thing, that's like way back in June or July, right? That's way back in middle 2012. So now he's been without his kids for 6 months, at least, maybe more. When he finally finds out that they're, with grandma and goes and picks them up at grandma's house, ties up grandma, picks the kids up. So now we have some updates on this from this week. And the Louisiana police are starting to chime in on this. Now, remember, the Florida police keep saying anti-government couple, anti-government couple, anti-government, right? Here's what the Louisiana police have to say. This is off of they just put it, Slidell Police Department. This came in, this was from last week, a late Thursday addition to this story. This is from the Slidell Police Department. In June of 2012, Joshua and Sharon Hacken were staying at a local hotel in Slidell. The Slidell Police Department was called in reference to a disturbance involving Mr. and Mrs. Hacken. When police arrived, both Mr. and Mrs. Hacken were acting in a bizarre manner that alarmed officers. They were talking about completing their ultimate journey and were traveling across the country to take a journey to the Armageddon. Let it be noted that both of their children were present in the hotel room at the time. So, the police are afraid these people are suicidal? That they're going to do harm to their kids? Continuing.
Based off their behavior and the fact that narcotics and weapons were located inside of the hotel room, officers contacted the Office of Child Services. OCS determined that the children were in danger and needed to be taken into custody by the state of Louisiana and placed temporarily into a foster home. Hacken was placed under arrest for possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, and the use of a controlled and dangerous substance in the presence of minors. Officers also took custody of several weapons for safekeeping. This blows my mind. Oh my God, you've got pot in front of your kids. Let's put those guns away. You got pot in front of your kids. Never mind those guns that are sitting there. There's pot in front of your kids. Wow. There's not a charge here for the weapons, right? You can have a machine specifically designed to kill people. That's okay. You can have that in front of your kids. But not pot. Oh my God. Dangerous substance. Okay. And I'm not saying we should bust people for having guns around their kids. I'm just saying it seems a little weird, doesn't it? Approximately 2 weeks later, this is Slidell Police again. Approximately 2 weeks later, Slidell Police were notified Mr. Hacken had shown up to the foster family home somewhere in Hammond, Louisiana, with a firearm, demanding the return of his children. The foster parents called 911, and Mr. Hacken fled without his children. We heard nothing until yesterday. Slidell Police was contacted by the FBI and the authorities from Florida to inform us about the kidnapping. Okay, so Mike Riggs, in the meantime, did more research on this whole Sailing Bull handle, this username that he's got. He's a sailor, right? He owns a sailboat, and he graduated at University of South Florida, which is the Bulls. So, Sailing Bull. So he looked through over 190 posts to a website that is Kel-Tec Owners Group, and Mike Riggs says, I got the impression of a normal guy with libertarian or Tea Party leanings. He posted about opposing the death penalty, opposing the war on drugs, and opposing the Patriot Act. He posted about loving his wife and sons and about his enthusiasm for sailing. He also liked firearms, and he was building a new grill in his backyard. Terribly dangerous fella. Now, the Armageddon line is kind of interesting because Hacken appears to be a member of another website that's called secularhomeschool.com, where in 2010 he described himself as an atheist. This is what he wrote. This is Hacken's writing, allegedly, on this website. I definitely plan on teaching about different religions to my children when it comes up in the context of other studies like history, social studies, geography, philosophy. Right now we're in the preschool phase, so I've got time. As far as teaching the dogma of any particular religion, I will probably limit my teaching of that in context with what and why people believe and how it has or will affect the actions of people. Personally, I think every religion from Christianity to atheism is a plague. The notion that we can answer questions that we have no knowledge base for is ridiculous. While there may be redeeming lessons from a particular religion, most organized faiths have been historically used to shed personal responsibility while stripping the individual of personal rights and freedoms of its congregation. Religion does not teach moral value. The best it can accomplish is to coexist and not intrude on such values. So here we go. We got Florida says they're anti-government extremists. Louisiana has them as some sort of Armageddon cult. Okay, I'm not buying it. Let me get the final update, and this is the update we get from today. Actually, I think it came in yesterday. No, it came in from today. Again, from Reason.com, Mike Riggs. Joshua Hacken, the Florida man who kidnapped his own children after being initially separated from them due to a marijuana arrest, has allegedly landed with his family in Cuba. The CNN reports a man on a boat at a Havana marina told CNN's Patrick Oppman that he is Josh Hacken. Cuban security asked CNN reporter to leave. So this is interesting. Again, they're just coming back to say he had, they got more information on the disturbance in the hotel. They say they found Hacken in possession of a gun, a knife, and marijuana, and that he was taking a journey to Armageddon. He spent a week in jail while he was there. Upon his release, that's when he went to the foster home to try to get his kids. And then fast forward to this week. So 8 months later, 7-8 months later, after being separated from his children, showed up Wednesday morning and took his kids, drove to the nearby Madeira Beach, boarded the family sailboat, and set sail. Florida law enforcement didn't realize until the weekend that the Hackens had taken to the Gulf of Mexico. Since the family disappeared, media outlets and law enforcement have suggested the Hackens meant to harm their children and possibly themselves. It looks more and more like they simply wanted their children back.
I don't agree with what Hacken's doing here. Waving guns at people trying to get your kids back is not the right way to tackle this. But it says something about America when getting busted with a pot pipe and some pot while you have a gun and a knife is enough to take your kids and force you to have to flee to Cuba for freedom.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
That's all the time we got here for Hour 1, but stick with us for Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. There's a whole bunch of other stories I didn't get to here in Hour 1. Plus, we're hanging out with Bacon Dan and Brian the Red. So for them, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
It goes down smoother. Lately,